The Czech Lower House of Parliament has approved an army mission of up to 290 as part of an international NATO group in the Baltics. The mission in Latvia and Lithuania should last throughout 2018 and into January 2019. 119 out of the 165 members of Parliament present voted in favour of the mission. It still has to be approved by the upper house, the Senate. The Czech Foreign Minister described the mission as a significant Czech contribution to NATO. Culture Minister Daniel Herman has said negotiations are going well and are at the next to last stage over the purchase and closure of a pig farm at the site of a camp where Czech Roma died or were sent to their deaths by the Nazis. The minister said talks with the owner at Lety should be concluded over the summer and the final decision should be sent to the government in September. The purchase of the farm, whose existence is regarded as an insult to the dead Roma, has been a priority for many Czech governments, without hitherto much apparent success. The Lety camp was originally created by the Czechs, but later transformed by the Nazis into a camp for Roma. Around 90% of the Czech Roma population is believed to have perished due to the Nazis. A survey of food samples in 5 countries, including the Czech Republic, have showed wide differences in the same products sold by manufacturers. Out of 21 products tested in Austria, Germany, Slovakia, the Czech Republic and Hungary, only 3 were the same. In 13 cases, there were wide differences in the same products sold in different countries, and in 5 cases, minor differences. In one case, the fish content of fish fingers was 63.8% in Germany and Austria, but only 50.2% in the Czech Republic. And the active ingredients of washing powder sold in Germany and Austria was much higher than in other countries. The Czech Minister of Agriculture has said the problem of different quality food sold as the same needs to be tackled at a European level. The annual rate of Czech inflation slowed in June to 2.3%, 0.1 percentage points lower than the May figure, according to the Czech Statistical Office. The monthly inflation rate was unchanged. The annual figure stemmed largely from a slowdown in price rises to transport and cheaper clothes and footwear, outweighing rising costs for food and drink. And staying with the economy, the official unemployment rate in the Czech Republic fell to 4% in June from -4.1%, the Czech Labour Office announced. The June rate is the lowest for 19 years, with just over 297,000 people registered as seeking work. The number of vacancies rose to 185,500, meaning that there is on average 1.6 job seekers for every vacant job. There still are, though, wide disparities in the jobless rate across the Czech Republic. And finally, Karolina Pliskova has become the first singles tennis player from the independent Czech Republic to become world number 1 in the WTA ratings. Pliskova moved to the top of the rankings after Romania's Simona Halep was defeated in the Wimbledon finals on Tuesday evening. 25-year-old Pliskova, who comes from Launi in North Bohemia, had been knocked out of the competition in the second round. And the weather on Thursday is expected to be cloudy with sunny intervals across most of the country. Top daytime temperatures will range between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius. I'm Chris Johnston, and that was the news.
To Radio Prague, the international service of Talk Radio. I'm Daniela Ozerova. Coming up in today's program, the Lower House passes the Paris Climate Change Agreement in its first reading, and Czech Karolina Pliskova reaches number 1 in the tennis world rankings. Later on in the show, the rocketing career of SpaceX's David Pavlík. All that coming up, so please stay with us. After months of delays, the Czech Republic's Lower House of Parliament took a first step towards approving the Paris Climate Change Agreement. The Chamber of Deputies voted in favour of the deal in its first reading on Tuesday, sending it for further assessment to Lower House committees. The Czech Republic is the last remaining EU member state not to have ratified the landmark agreement, Ruth Franková reports.
While the Czech Senate approved the Paris Climate Agreement in April this year, the Chamber of Deputies has supported the deal only at its 5th attempt. The approval faced resistance, in particular from the opposition Civic Democrats and Communists, who argued that it might hurt the country's economic growth. After the vote on Tuesday, Environment Minister Richard Brabec said such resistance was unnecessary and could only hurt the country's image abroad.
To já si myslím, že bylo úplně zbytečné gesto, že jsme vyslali nějaký signál, který jsme teda
I think it was an unnecessary gesture and we didn't have to send such a message. I believe it is not going to affect the competitiveness of our economy in any way. The signal we are sending was that we were quite selfish in not joining the global struggle.
The Paris Agreement was signed by 195 countries in December 2015. It binds the signatories to act to prevent a global temperature rise of more than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels by reducing greenhouse emissions and pushes for the development of new green technologies. The Czech Republic signed the agreement at the United Nations headquarters in April 2016. Regardless of the Czech Republic's stance, the agreement took effect in November last year. According to Pavel Zamyslivsky, head of the Climate Change Department at the Czech Environment Ministry, the Paris Agreement doesn't widen existing Czech commitments undertaken as part of the EU.
Under the Paris Agreement, the Czech Republic has pledged to lower greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by the year 2030. But the Czech Republic and the EU have already pledged to do so within EU legislation, so it's nothing revolutionary.
Environmentalist Wojciech Kotecký from the think tank Glopolis says ratification of the Paris Agreement has saved the country from what he called a major embarrassment. Although the ratification doesn't technically bring any major changes, he says it is still a very important step to take.
The Czech Republic's commitments under the Paris Agreement are essentially equal to the European Union legislation that has already been approved several years ago, so that we are bound by this legislation anyway. Nevertheless, the Czech ratification of the Paris Agreement will make sure that the country joins the rest of the international community in a long-term vision of elimination of fossil fuels in energy production and our economy, and that's important. It shows that we are one of those countries that want to get rid of coal power, oil and natural gas in forthcoming decades.
Environmentalist Wojciech Kotecký there, ending that report by Ruth Frankova. Now sports. The Czech Republic's Karolina Pliskova has achieved the greatest moment in her career to date by becoming world women's tennis number 1. Her success comes after another player's result at Wimbledon went her way, but Pliskova says topping the rankings proves her consistency this year. Ian Willoughby reports.
When the new women's singles tennis rankings are published immediately after Wimbledon, there will be a brand new name at the top, Karolina Pliskova. The 25-year-old from North Bohemia, who's never won a Grand Slam tournament, was herself knocked out of Wimbledon in the second round. However, she will climb from third place after Simona Halep blew her chance of leapfrogging current number 1 Angelique Kerber by losing in the quarterfinals of the All England Club on Tuesday. Prior to that match, Pliskova spoke to Czech radio about becoming number 1.
Not everybody achieves it. You won't get there with average results. There are a lot of players, and I would say it's very difficult to get there. I don't want to put it at the same level as a Grand Slam win, but it's just behind that. But it does point to 12 months of solid performances. Some players are excellent for 1 or 2 tournaments, but you really have to be consistent for the whole year.
Vladislav Shabarda is a former non-playing captain of the Czech Davis Cup team. He had this to say in response to Pliskova's sensational